What's going on, everybody? My name is Bo, and I'm a home theater enthusiast. And in this video, I'm going to talk about the biggest compromises I had to make when building my dedicated theater room back in 2006 after I bought my home. And I'm still feeling the effects of the compromises, but in my situation, there was no way around them. And I'll talk about that in a second. I know there's a lot of other versions of compromise. I fortunately or unfortunately, depending on your perspective, I don't need to ask permission. I don't need to get approval from a partner. So it's all on me. I make all the decisions. I basically whatever I'm willing to do and spend, I could put in this room, but there's just some things that were out of my control. So I'm going to flip the camera around and I'm going to talk about them right now. So stay tuned. All right. So I didn't mention this in any other video, but my room dimensions, which is pretty much the main point of this video and the compromise, from the front wall to the back wall is about 17 foot 10 inches, and that's not a bad depth, bad length of a room, but the width is only about 10 foot 10 inches, and the ceiling height, which is the killer for me, is only 6 foot 8 inches, believe it or not. I wonder how many dedicated theater rooms there are with a 6 foot 8 ceiling height. It's a 7 by 1.4 system, and it's a relatively small room comparative to a lot of the home theater tours on Youthman's channel, but there's one that was close. I think his ceiling height was about just over 7 foot, so I think I might have the record for lowest ceiling. But anyway, the room size is the biggest compromise I had to make. So let me show you what determined, first of all, the width of the room. So we're going to go out into the rest of my basement. So you can see I have stairs. That's the entrance to the house. And what we have here is a main support structural beam. It's about 3 2x12s together, sandwiched together. This house was built in like 1955. So I had to put my stud wall under that beam, and on the other side of the room I actually made the studs flush so that I could drywall above, which made it on this side where I have this lip. So turn the brightness up a little bit. So I put the studs under that beam, made my wall, and then drywalled up to the very top of the beam. So on the left of the room is cinder blocks that go on the other side is dirt because I'm in a basement. I did turn the studs sideways to gain like an extra inch, but the negative of that, which was a negative effect of the compromise I had to make for the width of this room, is I couldn't do in walls because there's not enough depth with with a stud sideways is only 3/4 of an inch. And while I do love these columns, it does push my speakers 3 inches closer to my ear than they would have had to been otherwise. So that was a cascading effect of trying to make this room as wide as possible. The length I said is 17 foot 10. Sorry, I'm backing out here. We're going to go into my workshop room, also a furnace room, and I'm going to show you. This is a old chimney, and this is actually the back corner of my theater room. So that's as far back as it could be. So imagine that plus a stud is 3.5 plus 5-inch drywall. So here's actually the back of my room is like out to here. So because of that, I was not going to try to have that removed. Back then, that would have cost a fortune. The length of my room was dictated by that chimney. Otherwise, I would have liked to have it at least 3 foot deeper because I wanted to do a false wall to hide my front speakers. And then the screen would be out further. and it would have been a nice clean wall. It would have been like a stage, maybe some framed out with the curtains, but I couldn't do that. Now with today's popularity or accessibility of a relatively decent priced acoustically transparent screen, I do have the ability to do in walls and put them behind the screen and clean up my front wall. But back when 2006, I would have loved to have this room be like I said, about 3 foot wider or longer. Sorry. And then the ceiling height dictated by the joist for the main floor. I did do a drop ceiling, which I lost about 2 inches. If I had done drywall, I think it was about 1.75 inches I could have saved. But I have the joist going this way, and it just makes it really challenging for speaker placement. So yeah, so those are the determining factors of why my room is the dimensions it is. And then the side effects, or the effects in general. Well, one, the room width doesn't leave me much room to walk to get around the couch. Now, this is a Bob's Discount Furniture Panther couch. It's 90 inches wide. And there's just, I'm a pretty narrow guy. I can walk through this relatively easily, but I know it's not ideal. I got this column here. I mean, that is not a lot of room. And the Valencia 3-seat is actually 99 inches because it has armrests in the middle. So that's a limiting factor. I mean, I really couldn't go any wider than this. I couldn't do a 4-seater. So that's a negative of the width of the room. Another negative is if you watch the Home Theater Guru, I can't get my 45 degrees put the speaker like right there where my hand is. I could put it tight to that wall. I might eventually do that. But yeah, it's like, I'm trying to have a decent 2-channel experience, and I know you're supposed to have the speakers off the wall a bit, but that's the compromise I have to make because of the width of my room. And like I said about the length, I wanted to do a false wall. Well, the other problem is I have to have an entrance. So it could have been here, right at the base of the stairs, which in hindsight probably would have been better. If I needed to do 2 rows of seating, then I have a problem with getting to this other door, which goes to my components in my computer room. I'm in and out of that room all the time, so I can't really have a couch there. I mean, I could. It'd be a real pain to walk around. And then the front row would be way too close to the screen. Plus, I wouldn't be able to do a riser because this doorway is like 6'1.5". And I'll show you. I mean, it's basically 2 fingers, 2.5 fingers. So if I had to step up into a riser, then I'm hitting my head, and let alone somebody my buddy who's 6'3". So yeah, the length of the room basically dictates 1 row of seating because I have a doorway there. If I didn't have that doorway, it'd be a different story, but I do. So I can't really realistically have dual seating, do like a dual row of seating. It's fine for me just being single, watching movies, mostly just me, maybe one other person, but yeah, that's definitely a factor. But I would say the biggest factor of the room, or the biggest negative to my room, which can't be overcome, is the ceiling height. First off, I got my Atmos speakers, and with 6'8", you don't really get as spacious of a sound as I imagine having a taller ceiling. So I have my side surrounds are probably 6 inches higher than probably should have made them, but there's not a lot of distance between the height channels and my side surrounds, and it's just hard to get that sound bubble when the ceiling's so close, and you get the sound. as best I could, try to limit the sounds reflecting off the ceiling. I did do some acoustic treatment up there. Those are acoustically transparent panels with sound treatment up there. But I'm happy with the sound. The biggest thing, though, really, the biggest limiting factor is screen size. Now, I'm happy with a 92-inch screen with 16 by 9 content. I think it looks fine. I sit about 11 feet from my eyeball to the screen, and it feels fine to me. I don't like looking around when I watch a movie. It actually makes me a little bit dizzy. But for Cinescope 2.39, 2.35 to 1, it is a little smaller than I would like. But if I really wanted to go to a Cinescope that's wider than this, would be about a 115-inch screen, which would have the same height, would just be, almost 10 feet wide. To fill that screen, you have to use zoom, because I'm not going to buy a $9,000 anamorphic lens, which means my projector would have to be like back. The front of the projector would be about even with those lights. The back of the projector, I would be hitting my head, sorry for the bad lighting, to get into that room. The projector would be like right here. It just would be impossible. I mean, the chances of me hitting my head on the projector would be too high to risk it. Also, the low ceiling height currently, I mean, that's not a lot of space between my ears and this projector's fan. If it was further back, that would help. But I think with all my calculations, the biggest screen I could realistically go without an anamorphic lens is a 100-inch 16 by 9 screen, because it would be acoustically transparent, because then I wouldn't want my center channel any lower. I would do a in-wall speaker behind, and then probably lower the screen just a little bit, because it's like the center of the screen's definitely about a foot above eye level, and then push my projector back. Probably get one of the newer projectors in the next couple years. But yeah, that's really it. If I wanted to fill this wall like I see a lot of people do, I mean, I would have to just forget this doorway and put a hole and put the projector in the other room, which just not even possible. So unless I wanted to do a little half door and crawl into this room, that's what I have to deal with. And I'm not complaining. I'm happy with my room. And to have like a huge room, like I see in Youth Man's videos and stuff, yeah, that you got to spend some money to fill those rooms with seating and acoustic treatment and speakers and a expensive projector to fill a giant screen. Those are other problems to have when you have a huge room. But anyway, I didn't plan on this video being this long, but I wanted to cover everything, so hopefully you watched it, you enjoyed it. Hit that like button if you did, and let me know in the comments below what compromises you had to make. And yeah, we'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.